The massive ship appeared on Tuesday morning, hanging at the edge of the solar system like a small moon that had lost its way. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. The hull shimmered with colors that Earth satellites could barely capture. Within hours, every news channel on the planet showed the same image. Humanity held its breath. Ambassador Sarah Chen stood in the conference room of the United Earth Government Building, adjusting her jacket for the 10th time. Through the window, she could see the crowds gathering in the streets below. Banners waved. People chanted. Some prayed. Others partied. The aliens were coming, and nobody knew what would happen next. "They're requesting permission to land," said Dr. Marcus Webb, the lead xenobiologist. His hands shook as he held the translated message. "They call themselves the Galactic Council. They say they come in peace to welcome us to the greater civilization." General Martinez snorted from his position by the wall. How generous of them. "Coming to welcome us to our own planet." "Quiet," Chen said, though she understood his concern. "This is what we trained for. First contact, the moment that changes everything." The alien ship landed 3 days later in the Nevada desert. A platform extended from its side and the delegation emerged. Chen walked forward with her team, her heart pounding so hard she thought the aliens might hear it. The first alien looked like a jellyfish. A very large, very purple jellyfish that floated in the air inside a bubble of shimmering liquid. It wore what appeared to be a tiny golden crown perched on its dome. When it spoke, its voice came through a translation device that made it sound incredibly pompous. "Greetings, primitive species of the third planet. I am Grand High Arbitrator Zelnoth of the Celestial Bureaucratic Order, fourth chair of the Eternal Committee, keeper of the Sacred Protocols, and representative of the Galactic Council's First Contact Division." Subsection 12, paragraph 4. Chen blinked. She had practiced her response 1,000 times. "Welcome to Earth. I am Ambassador Sarah Chen representing—" "Stop!" The jellyfish bobbed dramatically. "You have violated Protocol 742. The subordinate species must wait for the complete introduction before speaking. This is most irregular." Behind the floating jellyfish, 6 other aliens emerged. One looked like a bird, but with feathers that shimmered like oil on water. It wore a ceremonial hat that was at least 3 times bigger than its head. The hat had bells on it. Another alien resembled a very tall, very thin bear covered in silver fur. It held a staff with so many symbols carved into it that Chen couldn't count them all. "Please forgive our ignorance," Chen said carefully. "We are new to your protocols. Perhaps you could explain them to us?" The jellyfish bobbed again, this time in what might have been approval. At last, a sensible statement. "Yes. We shall educate you in the ways of the civilized galaxy. Follow us to the ceremonial greeting area." The humans followed the aliens to a cleared space where someone had set up what looked like a very elaborate obstacle course mixed with a formal dining room. There were platforms at different heights, cushions of various sizes, and a long table covered in objects that Chen couldn't identify. "The greeting ceremony has 17 phases," announced a new alien, this one looking like a floating rock with crystals growing out of it. "First, the subordinate species must present the petition of acknowledgement. Then the council representatives will perform the dance of welcome. Following this, there will be the exchange of symbolic gifts, the recitation of the Treaty of First Meeting, and the signing of Form 47B, which must be witnessed by—" "I'm sorry," interrupted Dr. Webb. "Did you say dance?" The bird-like alien stepped forward, its enormous hat jingling. "Yes, the dance of welcome. It is a sacred tradition, passed down through 47,000 years of galactic civilization. Observe." What happened next would be replayed on Earth's internet for decades. The bird alien began to hop on one foot, then the other, while waving its wings in circles. The jellyfish bobbed up and down in time with some music that only it could hear. The tall bear thing swayed from side to side, making low humming sounds. Chen felt a tickle in her throat. She coughed, trying to cover it. Beside her, General Martinez had turned red. His jaw clenched tight. Dr. Webb's eyes were watering. The dance continued for 5 full minutes. When it ended, the aliens looked at the humans expectantly. "Now," said the jellyfish, "you must perform your species' traditional response dance. This is Protocol 743. "We don't have a traditional response dance," Chen managed to say. The aliens gasped. Actual gasps. The jellyfish's bubble quivered. No response dance. But how do you show respect? How do you acknowledge the greeting? "This is unprecedented," We usually shake hands, offered Martinez. Shake hands? The tall bear alien leaned down to examine Martinez's extended hand. You vibrate your grasping appendages? How violent? No, we just grip and move up and down, Chen demonstrated with Webb. Like this. The aliens huddled together, making various sounds of concern and confusion. Finally, the jellyfish floated back to the humans. We will allow this deviation. For now, but you must file a petition for cultural exception, Form 392C, with the Committee for Non-Standard Greetings. The approval process takes approximately 15 cycles. 15 cycles? Asked Chen. Yes, roughly 3 of your Earth years, Martinez coughed. Chen recognized that cough. It was the cough of a man trying desperately not to laugh. Now, continued the jellyfish, not noticing, we must proceed to Phase 4, the reading of your species' crimes and virtues. This typically takes 6 to 7 hours. Please be seated. The bird alien produced a scroll that unrolled all the way to the ground and kept going. We have observed your species from afar. Your technological development, while crude, shows promise. However, we have noted several concerning behaviors. Item 1. You have engaged in armed conflict with members of your own species. This is against Galactic Law, Code 17, Section 9. You mean war? Webb asked. Yes, war. A barbaric practice banned 43,000 years ago. What do you do when species disagree? Martinez asked. We file complaints with the Committee for Interspecies Relations. They review the grievances and issue rulings. The process takes 20 to 30 years, but it is civilized. This time, Chen couldn't help it. A small laugh escaped her lips, disguised quickly as another cough. The bird alien continued reading. Item 2. Your species has created weapons of mass destruction. Item 3. Your planet has over 200 separate governmental systems. Item 4. You consume other living beings for sustenance. Item 5. Wait, Chen interrupted. You don't eat living things? Certainly not. We synthesize nutrients. The consumption of biological matter is considered barbaric in all civilized worlds. Martinez was shaking now, his face deep red. Chen could see tears forming in the corners of his eyes. Item 6. Your species makes decisions through something called voting, where the opinion of the majority overrules the minority. This is chaos. All proper decisions must be made through committee consensus, which can take decades but ensures fairness. Decades, Chen repeated. Yes. For example, the decision to contact your species was first proposed 173 years ago. The vote was finalized only last year. That did it. General Martinez let out a sound that was half cough, half laugh, half sob. Dr. Webb had to turn away, his shoulders shaking. The jellyfish's bubble turned a darker shade of purple. Is something wrong with your biological systems? Do you require medical assistance? Chen took a deep breath, fighting for control. No, we're fine. Please continue. But as the bird alien kept reading the list of humanity's crimes, which included everything from eating cheese to having pets to playing competitive sports, Chen felt her own control slipping. When they reached item 47, your species tells deliberate falsehoods for the purpose of humor, creating what you call jokes. She finally broke. A laugh burst out before she could stop it. Just one, but it was enough. The alien stopped. They stared. The ceremonial music that had been playing softly in the background cut off. You are laughing. The jellyfish sounded truly confused. At the sacred protocols? Chen pressed her lips together, shaking her head, but her body was betraying her. Her shoulders shook. Tears rolled down her cheeks. Beside her, Martinez had given up entirely and was bent over, gasping for air between laughs. The Galactic Council's representatives looked at each other in confusion and growing offense. This is most irregular, said the jellyfish finally. Most irregular indeed. The meeting had been moved indoors after what the Galactic Council called the incident. Ambassador Chen sat across from Grand High Arbitrator Zelnoth, trying her best to maintain a diplomatic expression. It was harder than she expected. Perhaps we started on the wrong foot, Chen said. Could you tell us more about the Galactic Council? How it works? The jellyfish bobbed, seeming pleased by the question. Of course. The Galactic Council is the pinnacle of civilization. We have maintained peace and harmony for 47,000 years through our system of laws, protocols, and committees. A holographic display appeared in the center of the room. It showed a structure so complicated that Chen's eyes hurt trying to follow all the lines and connections. Boxes within boxes, all connected by arrows and dotted lines. This is our governmental structure, Zelnoth explained proudly. At the top we have the Supreme Council of 12. Below them the regional councils numbering 473. Each regional council oversees multiple sector councils. Each sector council manages numerous local committees. And below them, of course, are the subcommittees, special committees, temporary committees, and emergency committees. How many committees are there total? Asked Dr. Webb, genuinely curious. Approximately 47 million, said the bird alien, whose name Chen had learned was Chirpthas. Though the number fluctuates as we create new ones and dissolve old ones. How do you dissolve a committee? Martinez asked. Through the Committee Dissolution Committee, naturally. They review petitions for committee closure. The process takes approximately 60 years. Chen felt that dangerous tickle in her throat again. She took a drink of water. And what about trade? She asked. If Earth wanted to trade with another species, how would that work? Zelnoth brightened. An excellent question. First, you would file a trade interest declaration with the Department of Economic Interactions. They would review your petition. This takes approximately 3 cycles. Then, they would forward it to the Committee for Resource Evaluation, who would assess what your species has to offer. Another 5 cycles. After that, wait, Chen interrupted. So far that's 8 cycles. About a year and a half? Correct. After that, the petition goes to the Trade Fairness Board, who ensures that the proposed trade doesn't disadvantage any party. This is very important and takes approximately 7 more cycles. Martinez was doing the math in his head. That's 3 years just to start talking about trade? The whole process typically takes 15 cycles, yes. About 3 of your Earth years. We pride ourselves on being thorough. A junior diplomat in the back of the room, a young man named David Park, made a strangled sound. Everyone turned to look at him. Sorry, he said, his voice tight. I swallowed wrong. Chen knew that wasn't true. She recognized the sound of someone desperately trying not to laugh. Please continue, she said to Zelnoth. Where was I? Ah yes, trade. Once all approvals are granted, both parties must sign the preliminary trade agreement, which must be witnessed by representatives from the Trade Oversight Committee, the Fair Practice Commission, and the Department of Cross-Species Commerce. Then there is a waiting period of 2 cycles to allow for any objections to be filed. If no objections are filed, the trade may begin. The hologram changed, showing what looked like a form with thousands of lines of text. This is Form 8472 TRD, the standard trade application. As you can see, it is quite straightforward. Chen squinted at the form. The text was so small and dense that she couldn't read it even with the magnification. How long is that form? Only 763 pages. Quite reasonable, really. This time, David Park didn't even try to hide it. He let out a snort that echoed through the room. The aliens turned to stare at him. I apologize, Park said, still smiling. It's just that on Earth we can start trading in a day. Sometimes in hours, the aliens gasped. All of them. Hours. Chirpthas's enormous hat nearly fell off. But how do you ensure fairness? How do you prevent exploitation? We negotiate, Martinez said. Both sides talk, make offers, counter-offers, and reach an agreement. If someone cheats, there are consequences. Consequences? The tall bear alien, whose name was something unpronounceable that translated to fur of silver, leaned forward. What kind of consequences? Legal action, fines, prison sometimes. Or people just don't trade with cheaters anymore. But who decides if someone has cheated? Surely you must have a fairness review board? A trade ethics committee? We have courts, Chen explained. Judges look at the evidence and make decisions. How long does this process take? Depends on the case. Could be weeks. Could be months for complicated ones. Zelnoth's bubble turned a pale shade of lavender. Weeks? You make legal decisions in weeks? This is madness. How long do your courts take? Webb asked. The shortest tribunal in recent memory concluded after only 17 years, said Fur of Silver proudly. Most take 30 to 40 years. This ensures that all perspectives are properly considered. Chen had to look down at her hands. She could feel laughter building in her chest like pressure in a volcano. This couldn't be real. These aliens couldn't actually function like this. Tell me about your military, Martinez said. How do you defend the council from threats? The room went silent. The aliens exchanged looks. Military? Chirpthas said finally. We have no military. We are civilized. But if someone attacks you, Attacks are forbidden by galactic law, Zelnoth said firmly. Code 3, Section 1. Any species that violates this law is reported to the Committee for Aggressive Behavior. And then what happens? The committee reviews the complaint. If they find the accused species guilty, sanctions are imposed. What kind of sanctions? Strongly worded letters mostly. Sometimes we revoke their voting privileges in non-essential committees. Martinez stared. That's it? What else would we do? Violence is barbaric. But what if the attacking species doesn't care about your letters? The aliens looked confused by the question. All civilized species care about proper procedure, said Zelnoth. But what about uncivilized ones? There are no uncivilized species in the galaxy. We do not recognize their existence. Martinez stood up abruptly. He walked to the window, his back to the room. Chen could see his shoulders shaking. General, are you unwell? Asked Fur of Silver with concern. I'm fine, Martinez said, his voice strangled. Just need some air. Chen decided to try a different approach. What about internal conflicts? Surely different species disagree sometimes. Oh yes, Chirpthus said. Quite often, actually. And how do you resolve these conflicts? Through the Competitive Resource Allocation Tribunal, of course. A new hologram appeared. It showed what looked like a courtroom, but instead of a judge, there were dozens of aliens sitting in rows of seats, all wearing elaborate robes. When two species have a dispute, they present their cases to the tribunal. Each side is allowed to speak for up to 40 hours. Then the tribunal members deliberate. How long does that take? The shortest deliberation on record was 7 months. The longest is still ongoing after 93 years. 93 years? Webb's voice cracked on the last word. Yes. It is a very complex case involving water rights. Very tricky stuff. David Park was openly grinning now. Chen shot him a warning look, but she could feel her own control slipping. So you fight wars through lawyers? Martinez asked from the window. Wars? Zelnoth sounded horrified. These are not wars. These are civilized legal proceedings. But they take 90 years. Better than the alternative. Before the council was formed, species actually fought with weapons. Can you imagine? So barbaric. How many species have joined the council? Chen asked. 4,762, Fur of Silver said proudly. We are very inclusive. And how many conflicts are currently in the tribunal system? Let me check. The bear alien consulted a device. Currently we have 12,347 active cases. Chen did the math in her head. More conflicts than species. That meant, so on average each species is involved in multiple ongoing legal battles? Yes, it shows how well our system works. Everyone uses the proper channels. Martinez turned from the window. His face was red. Tears streaked his cheeks. This is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. The room went cold. The alien stared at him in shock. General Martinez, Chen started to say, but he held up a hand. No, Sarah, listen to this. They have 47 million committees. It takes them 3 years to approve a trade deal. They've got 12,000 legal cases that will take decades to resolve. They don't have a military. They defend themselves with strongly worded letters. He laughed, a harsh, disbelieving sound. You haven't created a galactic civilization. You've created the universe's largest homeowners association. Homeowners association? Chirpthus cocked its head. What is this? Never mind, Chen said quickly, glaring at Martinez. But she couldn't deny the comparison. And once she thought of it, she couldn't stop thinking of it. These aliens, with all their protocols and forms and committees and procedures, had basically turned the entire galaxy into a bureaucratic nightmare. A laugh escaped her. Just a small one, but it was enough. You are laughing again, Zelnoth said, sounding hurt. Why do you keep laughing at our civilization? Chen tried to compose herself. I'm sorry. It's just, on Earth we've seen this before. Organizations that create so many rules that the next morning, Ambassador Chen arrived at the conference room to find the Galactic Council representatives already waiting. Their body language, or whatever the alien equivalent was, seemed tense. Zelnoth's bubble had turned a deep, angry purple. Chirpthus's feathers were puffed up. Even Fur of Silver looked agitated, pacing back and forth with heavy steps. Ambassador Chen, Zelnoth began, its voice colder than before. The council has reviewed recordings of yesterday's meeting. We are deeply offended. Chen sat down slowly. I apologize if we seem disrespectful. Our laughter wasn't meant to insult you. Then what was it meant to do? Chirpthus demanded. You laughed at our sacred protocols. You mocked our system of government. Your general called us a homeowners association, which our translators tell us is a very insulting comparison. General Martinez, sitting beside Chen, didn't look sorry at all. I stand by what I said. General, Chen warned. No, Sarah, they need to hear this. Martinez leaned forward. You've been in space for 47,000 years. You've got thousands of species in your council. And what have you built? A system where nothing can happen without a dozen committees approving it first, where trade takes 3 years to start, where conflicts take a century to resolve. That's not civilization. That's paralysis. The aliens made various sounds of outrage. We have maintained peace for millennia, Zelnoth protested. Have you? Chen asked quietly. Or have you just made war so complicated that nobody can figure out how to fight one? The room fell silent. Finally, Fur of Silver spoke, its voice low. You do not understand. Before the council, the galaxy was chaos. Species fought constantly. Billions died. Entire worlds were destroyed. We created our system to prevent that horror from ever happening again. I understand that, Chen said gently. We've had wars too. Terrible ones. We know what violence costs. Then why do you mock our solution? Because, Chen struggled to find the right words. Because you've gone too far in the other direction. You've made peace, yes, but you've also made it impossible to do anything. Even good things. Dr. Webb cleared his throat. May I ask a question? You said you've maintained peace for 47,000 years. But has the council faced any serious external threats in that time? The aliens exchanged glances again. That same uncomfortable silence fell over the room. There have been incidents, Zelnoth said carefully. What kind of incidents? Another pause. Then Chirpthus spoke. Perhaps we should show them. The council has not authorized, Zelnoth began. They need to know, especially if we want their cooperation. The holographic display activated. At first, Chen didn't understand what she was seeing. It looked like space, stars scattered across darkness. Then she noticed the empty patches, places where stars should be but weren't. 300 years ago, Fur of Silver said quietly, we detected an anomaly in the outer rim of the galaxy. Ships were disappearing. Then colonies. Then entire star systems. The hologram zoomed in, showing a planet, a beautiful blue and green world, cities visible on the surface. Then something appeared at the edge of the image. It was hard to look at, like a shadow that moved wrong, like darkness that was somehow darker than the space around it. The shadow touched the planet, and the planet simply stopped. The clouds froze in place. The lights in the cities went out. And then slowly the whole thing began to break apart, crumbling into dust that drifted toward the shadow. We call them the Devourers, Chirpthus said. We don't know what they are. Ships made of dark matter, maybe, or beings of pure energy, or something we don't have words for. All we know is that they consume everything they touch. Matter, energy, life, all of it goes into them and never comes out. Chen felt cold. Beside her, Martinez had gone very still. How many systems have they destroyed? Webb asked. 47, Zelnoth said. 12 species have been completely eliminated. 4 more are down to their last few worlds. And what have you done about it? We formed the Threat Response Committee immediately. They have been studying the problem for 283 years. 283 years? Martinez's voice was deadly quiet. Yes, it is a very complex problem. We have sent expeditions to study the Devourers, collected enormous amounts of data, run simulations, consulted experts from every field, and in those 283 years, Martinez interrupted, the Devourers have destroyed 47 star systems. We are being thorough. You're being slow. Martinez stood up, his chair scraping back. You've studied them for almost 3 centuries while they ate entire civilizations. What would you have us do? Zelnoth's bubble turned bright purple. Rush into battle without proper planning? That is barbaric. So is standing by while billions die. We have not been standing by. The committee has developed 17 different strategic proposals. How many have been approved? Silence, how many? Martinez demanded. The approval process is ongoing, Chirpthus said quietly. The Strategic Defense Subcommittee is currently reviewing the proposals. They expect to make a recommendation in approximately 40 years. Chen closed her eyes. She wasn't laughing anymore. Show us more, she said. Show us everything you know about the Devourers. For the next 3 hours, the aliens presented their data. It was comprehensive and detailed. The Devourers moved slowly but steadily, consuming about one star system every 6 years. They didn't communicate. They didn't negotiate. They simply consumed and moved on. Based on their current trajectory, Webb said, doing calculations on his tablet. They'll reach the core council worlds in about 127 years. 127 years. 4 months and 9 days, Fur of Silver corrected. We have been very precise in our calculations. And your approved defense plan will be ready in the full approval process, including committee review, council votes, and implementation planning, should be complete in approximately 140 years. The number hung in the air. So you'll have your defense plan ready? Chen said slowly. 13 years after the Devourers reach your core worlds. There may be delays, Zelnoth admitted. But we believe we can expedite certain steps. You're all going to die, Martinez said flatly. Every single one of you. We have time to— No, you don't. You think you do because you've been living in your bureaucratic bubble for so long that you've forgotten what real danger looks like. But those things? He pointed at the hologram where a recording showed a Devourer consuming a station. They don't care about your committees. They won't wait for you to file the proper forms. They'll just eat you, Zelnoth drew back. How dare you speak to us this way? We invited you here to join our civilization, to add your resources to our defense fund. Your defense fund? Chen asked. Yes, each species contributes based on population and economic output. The fund is currently at 7 trillion credits. It should be enough to build proper defensive installations once the plans are approved. Once the plans are approved, Chen repeated. In 140 years, give or take. Chen looked at her team. Martinez's face was hard as stone. Webb looked sick. David Park was staring at the hologram in horror. You didn't invite us here to join your civilization, Chen said quietly. You invited us because you're desperate. You've got a threat you can't handle with committees and forms. You need help. Real help? It's not— It is. You know it is. That's why you came to Earth, even though we're barbaric by your standards. You're hoping we'll contribute to your defense fund. Maybe speed up some of your processes. The alien said nothing. Chen stood up. Give us access to all your data on the Devourers. Everything. Sensor readings, recordings, failed defense attempts, all of it. That would require filing a data access request with the Information Management Committee. We're not asking permission, Chen said, her voice hard. We're telling you. Give us the data or we'll take our ships and go home. Your choice, Zelnoth's bubble pulsed rapidly. This is blackmail! This is reality. You need us more than we need you. So you can either work with us right now, no committees, or you can go back to your protocols and die waiting for them to save you. The aliens huddled together, making urgent sounds in their own languages. Chen waited, her heart pounding. Finally, Zelnoth turned back. This is highly irregular. Everything about humanity is irregular, Martinez said. Get used to it. We will provide the data, but only because the situation is dire. Smart choice, Chen said. As the aliens prepared to transfer their files, Fur of Silver approached Chen. You understand what you are seeing, yes? The Devourers cannot be reasoned with. They cannot be bribed or negotiated with. We have tried. I understand. Then what will you do? You have no committees to organize your response, no protocols to guide you. How will you make decisions? Chen looked at the hologram again, watching a world die in silence. Quickly, she said. We'll make them quickly. The data from the Galactic Council filled every computer on Earth. Scientists worked around the clock analyzing 3 centuries of information. What they found was both encouraging and terrifying. They're consistent, Dr. Webb told the emergency strategy meeting. The Devourers follow predictable patterns. They move from system to system in a straight line. They don't change course. They don't adapt. They just consume and move forward. What about their defenses? Admiral Zhang asked. She had been appointed to lead the military response, and she studied the holographic displays with sharp eyes. That's where it gets tricky. The Council tried to fight them exactly 3 times in 300 years. All 3 attempts failed. Why? Because they took too long to organize. By the time their fleets arrived, the Devourers had already finished consuming the target systems and moved on. And when they did catch up, their weapons were ineffective. What kind of weapons did they use? Energy weapons, mostly. Lasers, plasma cannons, particle beams, all very advanced, But the Devourers absorbed the energy. Made them stronger, actually. Martinez leaned forward. What about kinetic weapons? Webb shook his head. The Council banned kinetic weapons 40,000 years ago, called them primitive and uncouth. They refused to even test them. So they never tried hitting these things with something solid? Correct. Martinez and Zhang exchanged looks. Zhang smiled, and it wasn't a pleasant smile. Oh, she said. Oh, this is going to be fun. 3 days later, Ambassador Chen stood before the Galactic Council. The meeting was broadcast across the galaxy, thousands of species watching in real time. Thank you for the data, Chen began. We've analyzed it carefully. We believe we can stop the Devourers. The assembled aliens stirred. Selnoth floated forward. You have developed a strategy? So quickly. But you haven't even formed a committee. We don't need a committee. We need action. Here's what we're going to do. A hologram appeared showing human ships, dozens of them, moving toward Devourer positions. We're deploying our fleet immediately. We'll engage the Devourers at System 47, which is next in their path. But there are protocols, Chirpthus protested. You must file a military action proposal with the Defense Coordination Committee. Then the Rules of Engagement Subcommittee must approve your tactics. And the Weapons Review Board must certify that your armaments meet galactic standards. No, Chen said simply. The word hung in the air. No? Zelnoth's bubble quivered. What do you mean, no? I mean, we're not doing any of that. We're going to fight now, our way. This is unacceptable. Fine, then you handle it. Oh wait, you can't because you've been trying for 300 years and failed. Chen's voice was hard. We're not asking permission. We're informing you. If you want to file a complaint about it, go ahead. We'll read it after we save your lives. The council erupted in protests, but Chen simply ended the transmission. Admiral Zhang's fleet reached System 47 in 2 weeks. The Devourers were already there, a dozen shadow-like forms drifting toward the inhabited world. 3 billion people were evacuating as fast as they could, but there wasn't enough time. All ships, this is Zhang. The Admiral's voice came across the fleet channel. Remember your training. These things eat energy, so we're going old school. Prepare kinetic missiles. The human ships launched their weapons. Solid chunks of metal and rock accelerated to a significant fraction of light speed. No fancy energy shields, no plasma warheads, just mass and velocity. The missiles hit the Devourers like hammers, and the Devourers screamed. It wasn't a sound exactly, more like a vibration that human sensors could barely detect. But every living being in the system felt it, a wrongness that made their teeth ache and their skin crawl. The nearest Devourer's form rippled. Part of it tore away, dissipating into nothing. Target damaged, Zhang's tactical officer shouted. Firing again! More missiles launched. The damaged Devourer tried to move, but it was slow, sluggish. The second volley hit, and the thing simply came apart. Like smoke in a strong wind. Holy hell, someone whispered. It worked. Don't celebrate yet, Zhang said. We've got 11 more. All ships, pick your targets. Fire at will. The battle that followed was nothing like what the Galactic Council had ever seen. No careful positioning, no formal declarations, no time to analyze and plan, just rapid, brutal action. The Devourers adapted quickly. They began moving in unpredictable patterns, trying to dodge. But human ships adapted faster. Fighter pilots flew suicide runs, getting close enough to ensure their missiles hit. When the Devourers clustered together, the humans used nuclear weapons, another technology the Council had banned as barbaric. The explosions tore through 3 Devourers at once. 8 remained. Admiral, we're taking casualties, the tactical officer reported. The Essex was hit. Life support failing. The Yorktown lost main engines. Noted. Keep firing. A young captain, barely 30 years old, made a decision without asking for orders. Her ship was damaged, engines failing. She pointed it at the nearest Devourer and fired all thrusters. Captain Reyes, what are you doing? Zhang demanded. Ending this, Reyes said calmly. It's been an honor, Admiral. Her ship struck the Devourer at full speed. The impact was massive. Both the ship and the Devourer vanished in a flash of matter and energy. 7 remained. The battle lasted 18 hours. When it ended, 4 human ships were destroyed completely. 7 more were damaged beyond repair. Over 3,000 humans had died. But all 12 Devourers were gone. The rescued population of System 47 watched in stunned silence as the human fleet limped away from the battlefield. They had never seen anything like it. The Council's military doctrine was about preservation, careful strategy, and acceptable losses measured over decades. The humans had thrown themselves into battle like they were trying to wrestle death itself. News of the victory spread across the galaxy in hours. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session for the first time in recorded history. The proceedings, which would normally take months to organize, happened in 3 days. Zelnoth addressed the Council, its bubble a pale, sickly color. The humans have violated 17 different military protocols. They used banned weapons. They acted without authorization. They engaged in what can only be described as reckless violence. And they won, said a voice from the assembly. It was one of the species whose worlds were in the Devourer's path. In 18 hours, they accomplished what we've failed to do in 300 years. But at what cost? Chirpthas protested. 3,000 dead. 7 ships destroyed. By our standards, this is an unacceptable casualty rate. By our standards, the same voice countered. 3 billion lives saved in 1 day is a miracle. The debate raged for hours. Some council members called for sanctions against humanity. Others wanted to study human tactics. A very few, suggested maybe the humans were right. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Admiral Zhang stood in a hospital, visiting the wounded from the battle. She found a young pilot, her legs shattered, lying in a bed and staring at the ceiling. "How are you feeling, Lieutenant?" Zhang asked. "Like I got hit by a planet, ma'am," the pilot said with a weak smile. "But we won, right?" "We won." "Good." The pilot closed her eyes. "Those council aliens, they think we're barbarians, don't they?" "Probably. Do you think they're wrong?" Zhang was quiet for a moment. "I think there are different kinds of strength. They built a civilization that lasted 47,000 years without war. That's something we could never do. But when the real danger came, they couldn't fight it, so maybe neither of us has it completely right. So what do? We teach them how to fight, and maybe they teach us how to live without fighting. If we're smart, we'll learn from each other." The lieutenant nodded and drifted back to sleep. Zhang left the hospital and found General Martinez waiting outside. "The council wants to talk," he said. "They're calling it emergency negotiations. Only took them 3 days to organize. That might be a record for them. They want us to stop fighting the Devourers." Zhang laughed. A tired, bitter sound. "Do they now?" "Some of them do. Others want us to keep going but follow their rules. And a few, not many, but a few, want to learn from us. What do you think we should do?" Martinez looked up at the sky where stars were just beginning to appear. "I think we keep fighting. Because if we don't, those things will eventually reach Earth. But I also think Chen was right. We need to teach them. Show them that you can be civilized and still be ready to fight when you have to. Think they'll listen? Some will. Some won't. But the ones who do might just survive what's coming." High above Earth in the massive council station, Ambassador Chen prepared her next speech. She had been given 30 minutes to address the entire Galactic Council. Normally, such addresses took months to arrange and were strictly scripted. She threw the script away and spoke from her heart instead. But that was a story for another day. For now, humanity had proven something important, that quick thinking and decisive action could win battles that careful planning never could. The question was, could they teach an entire galaxy to change 47,000 years of habit? Chen was about to find out. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was the largest gathering in over 1,000 years. Every species sent representatives. The Grand Hall was packed with beings of every shape and size imaginable. And in the center, on a platform designed for honored guests, stood Ambassador Sarah Chen of Earth. She looked out at the thousands of eyes, and eye equivalents, staring at her. Some looked curious, some looked angry, many looked afraid. "Thank you for allowing me to speak," Chen began. Her voice was translated into 4,000 languages simultaneously. "I know many of you are upset with humanity right now. We broke your rules. We used banned weapons. We acted without permission. And yes, we killed the Devourers that were about to destroy System 47. Murmurs ran through the crowd. "Some of you think we're barbarians," Chen continued. "And you know what? Compared to your civilization, maybe we are. You've had peace for 47,000 years. We've only had global peace for 2 centuries. You've built a society where every voice is heard, every concern is addressed. That's beautiful. That's something we're still working toward. She paused, letting her words sink in. But we weren't laughing at you because we think you're stupid. We were laughing because we've been where you are. We've built systems so complicated that they stopped working. We've created bureaucracies so large that they forgot their purpose. Earth has risen and fallen many times because of this. A hologram appeared behind her, showing images from Earth's history. Empires that had collapsed under their own weight. Governments that had drowned in paperwork. The Roman Empire fell partly because it became impossible to govern. The League of Nations failed because it couldn't act quickly enough. Every human civilization has learned the same lesson. If you can't adapt, you die. It doesn't matter how perfect your system is on paper. If it can't respond to real threats, it's useless. Zelnoth floated forward from the council's front row. You say we cannot adapt, but we have survived for 47,000 years. How is that not adaptation? You've survived, Chen agreed. But you've also let 59 species die while you debated how to save them. The Devourers have been killing your people for 300 years, and you still haven't approved a defense plan. That's not survival. That's just dying slowly, the crowd erupted. Some species cheered, others shouted in anger. Zelnoth's bubble turned deep purple. Order, Chirpthus called out, its enormous hat jingling as it moved. Let her finish. Chen waited for the noise to die down. I'm not here to insult you. I'm here to offer a deal. Humanity will fight the Devourers. We'll defend council space. We'll put our lives on the line to protect worlds we've never even visited. But in return, we need something from you. What do you want? Asked Fur of Silver. Resources? Territory? No, we want you to let us teach you. Silence fell over the hall. Teach us? Zelnoth said slowly. Teach us what? How to make decisions without spending 10 years in committee. How to act quickly when necessary. How to balance peace with preparation. You've created something amazing here. A civilization where war is unthinkable, but you've forgotten that sometimes the only way to preserve peace is to be ready for war. An old alien in the back row spoke up. Its species looked like a walking tree and its voice creaked like wood. What you suggest would destroy everything we've built. No, Chen said firmly. I'm not suggesting you abandon your councils or your protocols. I'm suggesting you learn when to use them and when to set them aside. You don't need a committee to approve every decision. Just the big ones. You don't need 17 levels of review for an emergency, just for normal operations. But who decides what is an emergency? Asked another voice. You do? All of you together create an emergency council with real authority. Give it the power to act quickly when threats appear. Then when the emergency is over, let your normal systems examine what happened and hold the emergency council accountable. Dr. Webb stepped forward to join Chen. On Earth, we have something called martial law. During a crisis, we give temporary power to military leaders. They can make fast decisions. But when the crisis ends, civilian government returns. The military leaders must explain everything they did. It's not perfect, but it works. Temporary power. Chirpthus sounded intrigued. But what stops this emergency council from keeping power forever? You do, Chen said. All of you. Your 4,000 species, your millions of committees. They stay in place. They watch. If the emergency council abuses its power, you remove it. You've spent 47,000 years building systems to prevent tyranny. Use them. But don't let those systems prevent you from defending yourselves. General Martinez joined them on the platform. Here's the truth, humanity isn't better than you. We're not smarter or braver. But we've learned to balance two things you've kept separate. We have laws and councils and debates. But when danger comes, we act first and argue about it later. You argue first and act never. Neither extreme works. What you're describing, said a species that looked like a floating crystal, sounds like chaos. It is chaos, Martinez agreed. Controlled chaos. It's messy and imperfect and people make mistakes. But it's alive. Your system is orderly and perfect and dead. The crystal pulsed angrily. We are not dead. 59 species are, Chen said quietly. And more will follow unless you change. The debate continued for hours. Some species demanded humanity be expelled from council space. Others wanted to immediately create the emergency council Chen had suggested. Most were somewhere in the middle, uncertain and afraid. Finally, Zelnoth called for a vote. We will decide, do we allow humanity to defend council space using their methods? All in favor? The vote took 30 minutes to count. 4,000 species, each with their own voting procedures. When the results appeared, Chen held her breath. 347 in favor. 653 against. 762 abstentions. The measure passes, Zelnoth announced, sounding tired. Humanity is authorized to engage the Devourers without prior council approval. However, they must file detailed reports after each engagement. We can do that, Chen agreed. Furthermore, Chirpthas added, the council will create an emergency response committee with limited authority to act quickly during crisis situations. The committee will consist of 30 species rotating every 5 years. Humanity will be offered a permanent seat. We accept, Chen said. This will take time to implement, Fur of Silver warned. We must draft charter documents, establish procedures, determine the scope of authority. How long? Martinez asked, optimistically. 7 years, Martinez sighed. Better than 140. The session ended and delegates began filing out. Chen stood on the platform, exhausted. She had just committed humanity to fighting a war across the galaxy. They would lose people, ships, maybe entire colonies if they weren't careful. But looking at the aliens around her, some grateful, some hostile, most just confused, she knew it was the right choice. Dr. Webb approached her. Think they'll really change? Some of them will, Chen said. The ones smart enough to realize that their old way is killing them. The other, she shrugged. We'll protect them anyway. Why? If they won't adapt, why should we die for them? Because someone has to. And because maybe, if they see us doing it, they'll learn. 1 year later, the human fleet had pushed the Devourers back 300 light-years. 27 battles, 16 victories, 11 stalemates, over 12,000 human casualties. But 0 council worlds lost. Admiral Zhang stood on the bridge of her flagship, reviewing reports. The Emergency Response Committee, newly formed and still figuring out how to work, had just approved her request for reinforcements. The approval took 3 days instead of 3 years. It was progress. In the council chamber, Ambassador Chen attended her 100th session. She wore formal dress now, having learned that the aliens did appreciate ceremony when it was appropriate. The meeting was discussing trade routes, something that once would have taken years. Today's session would conclude in 6 hours. More progress. And in the outer rim, a species called the Vexthar, bird-like beings who had lost 3 colonies to the Devourers, approached a human military instructor. They wanted to learn how to fight. The instructor, a grizzled Marine named Torres, looked at the nervous aliens. You sure about this? It's not pretty. People get hurt. People die. We are sure, their leader said. Better to die fighting than waiting. Torres smiled. All right then. Let's start with basic tactics. First rule, when in doubt, hit it hard and fast. The Vexthar took notes carefully, writing down every word. In the council medical station, the wounded from the latest battle recovered slowly. Humans lay in beds next to council species who had been evacuated from threatened worlds. The patients talked, sharing stories, learning about each other. A young human pilot told a group of Chirpthas children about Earth's oceans. A council engineer explained ancient technologies to human scientists. Slowly, carefully, 2 very different cultures began to understand each other. Zelnoth visited Chen's quarters one evening, floating in through the door with surprising quietness. Ambassador, the jellyfish said formally. Grand High Arbitrator, Chen replied, equally formal. Then she smiled. Want some tea? It's an Earth thing. I suppose I could try it. They sat, or in Zelnoth's case, floated, in comfortable silence for a moment.